First thing probably are going to want to do, I'm thinking, is take out this pin here, so that way the linkage is not getting bothered by it. So what I've read online, there's a plug on the bottom on the left hand side of the PTO housing, and you pull this plug, and if that roll pin came out inside, it should just fall out. So got a catch pan here, and it's 1 inch wrench you'll need. Hopefully I don't make too big of a mess. You know what? I think I'm going to get some gloves on. Well, it came out, so I'm guessing that means the roll pin broke. Boy, that is a little bugger. Now I got to take this top off here. I don't know what size it is. I know it's bigger than 1 inch and 5/16. Before you take this off, you're probably going to want to take a blowgun, blow around it real good so you don't get any contamination, dirt or anything like that getting down in your there. Alright, so here's our valve, and there's a little hole right here, and I bet you that is where the pin goes through that holds that bottom part on. So when I was reading on forums how to do this, I kept hearing them say, you know, count the threads, and I thought they were talking about this part right here, which I was like, well, that doesn't even, you don't even have to do anything with that, so I don't know why you'd have to count those threads. But I think what that means is on this part right here, the block is threaded onto the valve because it's got to come up through the bottom from what I've read. So that plug we pulled out at the bottom down there, that's got to be pulled, and then the whole valve comes up through the bottom. And then I think you put this and that, get all that put on there, and then thread your top back on, all that stuff, and I think that's how it goes, which I haven't really touched this yet, and it looks like it's pretty much bottomed out. I'm doing my work on a stool because my bench is just covered in stuff, and my plan is once I'm all done with all this kind of stuff, I'm gonna clean up the shop. Alright. And the reason you have to adjust this, or have this adjustment, it goes how far down this gets pushed. That adjusts your pressure and so on and so forth, which I don't know the specs off the top of my head, but I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to set this up in an orderly fashion. That goes there, then goes that, and that. These two pieces go together like so, and then a pin goes in here, which I went to the local hardware store, seeing if they had any kind of roll pin or something that would work. Couldn't really find anything that small. I read on a forum somewhere someone took a needle bearing from a U-joint and put in there. The one that I have, just parts of a U-joint laying around, the needle bearings were too big. But I ended up getting this micro drill bit. It's very small, and that fits in there. So I think what I need to do is take this drill bit, see how much I need, and then cut the rest of it, cut it off, and then I'll have my pin. I can throw it all back together and hopefully get this tractor going. Alright, let's just make sure we got enough. I should almost get a Sharpie to mark that. Perfect. Wow. Cutting a drill bit is way harder than it looks. Now that seemed to work out a heck of a lot better than the hacksaw. Alright, here we go. Let's see if it fits. Got our pin in. Okay, now we can just assemble everything and put this valve back in from the bottom, and PTO should be working. So this is at the bottom. And this goes on top of that. Yeah, I think before I put this together, I'm going to get a rag and just clean this off real good. Okay, so we got our bottom part of the valve here. Throw our springs on. And then this little cap guy. And then we'll throw, actually before we do that, let's wipe that off too. Real good. And we'll get our top and our bottom put together. Also, I have no idea if this drill bit thing will work, because it's definitely not the Case IH part, but now we got our two-piece valve in. And the rest of this stuff goes on once it's in the tractor, so we'll leave all that out. So now we got to pull that bottom plug and put this up, and then put that plug in real quick without losing too much oil. Alright, here we go. Quick. Ah, come on. There we go. Okay, so now we just have to install that stuff on top, and then we can just wait for it to dry out before we bale any straw. Alright, so we got our valve, and now we'll take that little washer that holds the cup for the spring, so we just put that over and that'll slide down to its groove. Maybe. Alright, and then we'll just take the cup and that spring, and that falls right down on there. Now we're ready for the top. So that's just this thing right here. Also, when you have that out, you want to make sure you check the O-ring, make sure it doesn't have any little nicks on it or whatever, that because it's O-ring, it's the O-ring fitting, so it uses an O-ring to seal. But yeah, so we get that on. And then we'll put our little block thing here. And now, so I believe this is what you use to adjust the pressure in your PTO. So as you're trying to put this on, you know, the bottom, the valve part will just spin with the fitting. There is a little hole right here. You could take like a little O-ring pick, stick that in there. That'll keep it from spinning, so you can get that adjusted as much as you need to. And now that I think about it, probably the best way to make sure you put this back where you had it, turn it down till it bottoms out, count how many turns that is, and then once you go to put it on, you just tighten it down all the way and then just back your way up to wherever it needs to be. But I guess I would have thought of that before. And then if you were going to check your pressures, if you look right there, I think that's the test port. So how you do that is you take this little, probably a 1/4 inch plug out, and you'd hook a test gauge up right there and look at the pressure. And I've looked online on various forums, and the pressure you want it at seems to vary between, you know, who says what. So maybe your best bet would be to call the dealership and see what they recommend. And but I don't think I'm gonna do that, because well, we'll just see if this fixes it, see if my PTO spins. And now I can get my deal in there. There we go. All right. Feels like it should for the spring in there and whatnot, so that's good. I guess now we'll probably should check the hydraulic oil, make sure there's enough, and top that off before we go trying to make sure the PTO works, because it might not work if you lose a lot of hydraulic oil, if you're not quick with that plug, and then you might be chasing a problem that might be fixed. So I'm going to check the oil, and then we'll fire it up and we'll see if the PTO turns. The moment of truth. Oh heck yeah. See that? That's spinning. So, mission accomplished. Woohoo! Hey, if you like this video, please like and subscribe.